Hi, so in this lesson we will learn about how to use the enhanced e-commerce data layer schema and use it when you want to send data to Facebook for an e-commerce website. So let's discuss about this topic. Now, for every e-commerce site, the first and the foremost thing that you should be doing is implementing the enhanced e-commerce tracking. Now, after you've implemented the enhanced e-commerce tracking, the data layer format that we have in enhanced e-commerce tracking is not going to work if ever you wanted to use that data directly and send them over to Facebook. When you're working on an e-commerce site, Facebook says, hey, there are 5 important standard events that you need to send as part of your website's communication with Facebook servers. When that happens, remember the first one is the page view, which loads upon every page load. Second is view content. This event you send when a user visits your product specific page, or you call it as a product detail page. And when people add to cart, you send an event. When people initiate checkout, you send an event. And when people go to purchase, you send an event. Now, if ever you wanted to implement Facebook Pixel and implement all this tracking so that you can send data to Facebook upon every e-commerce action that a user does on your website after visiting your e-commerce website, first and foremost thing is you should first get enhanced e-commerce tracking implemented. Now, if you've implemented enhanced e-commerce tracking, I'm going to show you how you can write a custom JavaScript code right within Google Tag Manager and use the data layer schema which is available as part of enhanced e-commerce tracking and transform that to a format that Facebook requires from us, expects from us, and use that custom JavaScript and send the data to Facebook in the form of events that we use like view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, and the purchase event. So before we go, let's discuss about the enhanced e-commerce data layer format for different e-commerce action, right? So join me. The best website to start with is enhancedecommerce.appspot.com. This is a website made by Google. So you go to this website, you can see how you can talk to your developer and tell your developer to implement the data layer. Now remember, data layer is nothing but a JavaScript array with single object. So data layer, the name itself says where you store some data. And the reason why you store data in data layer is because you can take all the data which is available in data layer and read that from GTM and use GTM to transport that data from GTM to any third-party endpoints, whether it be Google Analytics, whether it be Facebook, or whether it be any other marketing or analytic platform. So when you come to this homepage, enhancedecommercetracking.appspot.com, right? So this is the homepage. So when you go to a homepage, you see there are some products. So when you see lot of products, it generally had to be a category page. So whenever a user visits any page where you display lot of products, this is the data layer format, or the data in data layer should be pushed like this. So when you click here, the data layer format that Google gives are available in 2 options. One is the GA4, which is the 4th version of Google Analytics. In fact, that is the present one, right? And it was released last year. And the entire data model of Universal Analytics and the data model of GA4 is completely different. Universal Analytics data model deals with page view and session, but GA4 data model deals with event and event parameter model. So I'm going to stick to Universal Analytics legacy, and because we're going to implement or use GTM as the center of all our tracking, so I'm going to use Google Tag Manager. Now you see, whenever people go to any page where you have lot of products displayed, so what we do is we tell the developer to push the data layer. Now why do we use push? Is because data layer is an array. Push is a method that we use whenever you want to push content into a data layer. And when we are pushing it, remember, we are pushing only one single object from here. You see, it's only one single object. It starts here and it ends here, right? And everything inside of it comes in the form of key value pairs, because the data that is stored in object is always stored in the form of key value. You see, this is the object. E-commerce is the key. Why? Because as part of enhanced e-commerce tracking implementation, when we send data, Google receives the data, and Google should understand what data you're sending. For that, the first thing that Google recommends us is e-commerce. So when you send this e-commerce, and when Google receives the e-commerce data, it understands, the website is sending data, and this data is related to e-commerce. Now, when you talk about e-commerce, there are a lot of data points you can send. You can send data whenever people click a product. You can send data whenever people go to a product detail page. You can send data when people add to cart, begin their checkout, and eventually go to purchase. Now you see we're sending e-commerce. This is standard across any data layer pushes for all 5-6 e-commerce actions that we implement. So e-commerce is standard. Inside that, the currency code, which is USD. So if your website is in USD, you put USD. If it is INR, you can put INR. And here, this is the most important one. This is what tells Google Analytics that the data that is coming in the form of e-commerce is the data associated to an action, which is impressions. Now, when you say impressions, it is an array. Why do you think it is an array? Because there are so many products. You don't get impression for one product. If you're going to a product page, that is a product detail page. But when you see lot of product displayed, right, it is an impression. And because lot of products, you put them into an array, and this is an array of objects. You see, each product represents one object. Why each product becomes an object here is because every product has lot of details. Each product has their ID, each product has a name, price, brand, category, position, and list. So it is recommended that you put all these details for every product that are displayed on the page and put them into an array. So you see here, this is an impression array, which means the action that we are trying to track is impressions, and inside this impression array there are 4 objects, which means 4 products. And you can even send promo. This is particularly for a promo code. If ever people go to a category page or product page where you have a promo display, the promotional banner displayed, you can even send that data, right? So promo. So essentially we'll stick to this part now. So this is how the data layer should be there. Now, once people go to a category page, next what they do, they like some product, they eventually end up clicking on that product. Now, when a user clicks on a product, you want the data to be sent to analytics, so analytics can read which products are getting most of the clicks. For that, there has to be some different data layer format, right? So how that data layer should be, so you can take it and use it to communicate to your developer, is you can find when you click on this particular symbol. When you click here, you go to Universal Analytics. Because we're using Google Tag Manager, you click here, you see data layer. This is an event. Now, event is one of the most important things when you push a data layer, because if ever you wanted to send the data which is pushed into data layer, right, with certain tag, you always have to use an event key. It is only an event key that is in data layer can be used as a trigger condition to dispatch the data that is available in data layer at that particular instance, right? So for every data layer push, it is always advised that you use an data layer push event key. So you see, event is product click, and here we're sending what data? E-commerce data, which remains constant. And what action are we trying to measure? We're trying to measure an action which is click. And where the click actually happened, it is list homepage, and that is enclosed in an object called action field. And what product is associated with that click? Again, product is an array. Each product becomes an object, and ideally you only deal with one product at one time. You can't click on 2 products at the same time. So it's an array, because that is how the standard format is, and the object that actually deals with the product that received the click, right? So this is part of the enhanced e-commerce. So once people click on that, you send a data layer push like this. That means the product that actually received the click, the data should be pushed by the developer. If you're using WordPress, there are plugins available. The best of the plugins for WordPress WooCommerce site is Google Tag Manager for WordPress, developed by Thomas Geiger. If it's Shopify, you can use an app like a Lelivar or Little App, or you can have somebody write a custom code to push all the data about all the e-commerce actions that people perform on your Shopify site by writing a custom code in your theme liquid files. Right now, once I click on the product, you go to a detail page. When you go to a detail page, another action. So you need to tell your developer, whenever people go to your detail page, I want the data layer code to be like this. Data layer push, e-commerce is the standard action, impression. Now, why when I go to a detail page impression? Because if you see here at the bottom, there are some products. These 4 products received the impression. This product received the detail page. That means the detail action. That is why when you see, you go here, the data layer format, the product data which is available in data layer. Impression. How many products are there? 4 products. Why? Because there are 4 products at the bottom. But only one product, we are sending the data we're trying to measure. And what data is that? It's an action associated with people visiting the product landing page or product detail page. That is why it's only one product. At a time, you can only go to one product. That's why it's only one object, right? And this is the data of that product that the user visited to that particular detail page, right? So you can give this to developers and let developers work on it, and all they have to write is they write one time, and every time you go to a different product, the details of the products gets changed. The code is standard, only the data gets replaced with the product that the users are interacting with. Now, next action is whenever people go to add to cart, so this is the data layer format. You see, event, why I can use this as an event trigger and dispatch the data from GTM to analytics saying at this point in time people performed that action and I wanted to measure that action. E-commerce is the standard one, then currency code is USD, and add means add to cart is an object. Inside that add object you have a product key which is an array which has all the products that were added to the cart. Right now there's only one product, that's why it's showing. If I were to have 2 products in the cart, it would have created 2 objects. Each object deals with one particular product. Similarly, you go to remove from cart or you add to cart, then go to checkout. So probably you can go to this website. This website gives you all the data layer instructions. In fact, the ready code that you can take it and give it to your developer and tell developer for all the e-commerce actions that I'm trying to measure, I want you to push all these data in the same format, except the data gets replaced with the actual product values, right? So once I've implemented enhanced e-commerce tracking on the website, whether it be through a WordPress WooCommerce plugin or through a Shopify site, once you have it, then you can use the data layer which is already available inside of GTM. After the data layer gets pushed, the data in the data layer is available. I can write a custom JavaScript code in Google Tag Manager, transform that data and send it over to Facebook. Right? I have extensively explained about this in our bootcamp session. There are 2 sessions, more than 2 hours of content only dealing with how to run dynamic ads on Facebook, right? So imagine if I have already implemented that. So how I'm going to write a custom code? So I'm going to go through the GTM. See, I've written a lot of custom codes. I'm going to show you a couple of custom codes so you can really understand how I've done that. You see, when people go to a category, page, you see here in the category page, only page view is sent. So whenever people go to the category page, the data layer is pushed. The content in the data layer is available. You see, people go to the category page. Because I'm using a plugin here, the plugin is pushing the data into data layer with impressions. Why? All these products have got an action, which is people saw the product, not landing page they went to, the product page, they saw the category page. You see all the products that actually received impressions. Now, so what I'm going to do is for Shopify, for Facebook, whenever people go to the category page, you don't send any data because you either send view content and then the next one is the add to cart. So what we'll do now is we go to a product specific page. So once you go to a product specific page, you can now send a view content event to Facebook. How I am doing that from GTM, I'll show you. I'm using the data layer which is available, which is from enhanced e-commerce. Write a custom JavaScript and use that to send the data to Facebook as part of the view content event. So you see, you go to the pixel here, I'm sending view content, you see content type, product, contents and currency I'm sending. But I haven't implemented anything as such, a plugin. I'm only using the data available in data layer. So how I have done that through custom JavaScript is what you need to know. So you see the lot of things that I've written. So I'm going to use this view content. This is the code that I have taken. So this is the function I'm going to take it. So what are these is nothing but this is a data layer variable which I have created, which will read the e-commerce data from the particular detail array or detail object. So I'm going to show that. So if we go here, so let me copy this code once. Let me copy this code. Let me go to the JS bin. This is one place where I go and write whatever I'll write it as P. I'm going to write this code so you understand. So I want to have the product specific. So this is the data layer format. So I am writing a code. This code will transform this particular data layer into a format that Google wants, like this. How I'm doing that is exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. So you see here, right? So I've taken this. So I go to enhanced eCommerce. This is the product specific page. So I'm going to go copy the code. So I'm going to copy this exactly, and I'm going to put this to P here, which is P is a product here. Sorry, P is a variable, which is an array, which has all the product details. So then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to run a function. Because p.map function product. One second, I'm going to show how this works. Return product not name. So they need to understand a bit of JavaScript. This is the array object. So I'm trying to write that array function. The first item is becoming the product. I'm giving it as an argument, and I'm trying to return you see here. So I have taken this particular thing, input, and I'm trying to return it to how Facebook wants. So you see name, ID, price, quantity, and that is exactly what I'm sending to Facebook by writing a custom JavaScript code. Let me go to the site and explain you how this code really runs. So whenever people go to a content page, whenever people go to view content page, what I'm doing is I am writing a function that will return, right? So certain value, and that value is exactly what I'm going to use when sending Facebook the view content. So this is a data layer variable. Now if you want to see DLV product detail page, you see what is DLV product detail page. Let me do this. You see, this is the input that I'm going to take. This is the input. So I'm writing a code here. If there's nothing here, simply return. But if there is some value, then it will come, take that array, and I'm running a map method. And what map function does is, it tries to take every element inside of the array and runs one function on each one of it. So I'm writing one function, and this I'm sending as an argument each time. Product means the item in the array. So if you have 10 items in the array, this product will be assigned to one value each time the function runs. So you see, product return. So I'm using this. So when I use this, what happens? The data which is available in data layer like this, which is detail products, I'm trying to convert it like this. And because I cannot simply use this and send to Facebook, I'm transforming this data and send to Facebook by writing a custom JavaScript. So let me go to some other action. For example, if I click on add to cart. Now when I click on add to cart, you see add to cart is also there. So when the product is added to cart, the data is pushed into data layer like this. You see add. But I cannot simply use this to send because it is part of the enhanced e-commerce tracking. But I wanted to write a custom JavaScript that will transform the data into a format that looks like this. So how I have done that? FB add to cart content. So let me go and show that. CJS FB add to cart. You see, yeah, see, I'm writing a custom JavaScript that will store the content. Same thing. I'm reading the value from the data layer. What is the data layer? eCommerce.add.products. That is exactly what I'm doing it. eCommerce.add.products. If there's nothing in it, return. But if there is some value, I'm trying to write a map function which will run one function on every item inside of an array. So I'm passing the item each time the function runs as an argument, and the name of the argument I'm given is product. So return product.name. Here product represents the first object. If there are 10 products, each time the function runs, that object is nothing but the first item, the first object which is inside of that array, if you have multiple products in add to cart. And this is what I'm using it to send the data to Facebook. I hope you have some idea about how you can use map function and transform the data which is already available in enhanced e-commerce tracking, and transform that by writing a small custom JavaScript code and use that custom JavaScript to send data to Facebook, right? So I hope this gave you some knowledge. If you really wanted to work on it, maybe you can go and check out some content on Google, or maybe you can go through our YouTube. We put some amazing content, how you can implement this. Or if you wanted to learn more about arrays and objects, there's a particular course which is Facebook Pixel Mastery course that I've created, which takes you very deep inside of what Facebook Pixel does to our Facebook marketing campaigns.